Have you made use of our cloud search product at all? It's a relatively new service, and when you talked about having the corporate memory, that kind of sounded like something
we haven't.
Potentially interesting.
I think we were starting to explore, I know our CTO is exploring CloudFront, sort of more that content distribution, the idea of, again, content being global and having it be multilingual, sort of serving that up in different regions around the world is really key.
Of course, yeah.
And so having that ability to serve content quickly is something we think about all the time. And so, I think we've talked about how quickly Amazon has evolved with AWS, adding new solutions, adding more sophistication. And so as a longtime customer, we've seen that track record of more and more coming, more sophistication, sort of more in line with the customer demands. And so we take advantage of all that stuff very quickly.
Are we doing a good job of meeting your needs for adding new services and new features and so forth?
Yeah, it's, again, Amazon's a technology company, we're a technology company, so culturally I think there's a strong fit. We like the idea of the fast rollout. We're happy to experiment. We're happy to give feedback. Feedback is always reciprocated, so we're always testing new things that are rolled out. I know Amazon has a quick iteration cycle. Lingotek has a quick iteration cycle. We release monthly, and so we're very much about release often and hopefully not too early, but we release often. So
just the exact right time.
Exactly, hopefully.
Now, when you get to more sophisticated customers, and at the point when they realize that you're using AWS to store their content, do they ever start thinking about kind of integrated models where maybe they're also an AWS customer and they could put the content in AWS and then you could pick it up from there and keep on going?
That's a thought process that we're starting to explore. One of the things that's key to translation is really content. The translation is a very transient process. We're dependent on a content stream. So we've done integrations with Oracle's Web Center, Microsoft SharePoint, Drupal, Alfresco, Jive software, and so we are seeing some of our customers host their content management systems on AWS and sort of looking at that as more of a direct tie between, say, SharePoint and Lingotek.
It seems to make some sense. Now, does your platform have like an API where I could make a call and say, please translate this document from English to Spanish, let's say?
It's a sort of extremely key initiative for Lingotek to embed our translation technology into content systems. We call that Lingotek Inside. So embedding that where the content lives so you can actually initiate translation workflows from within content systems. This happens to be a method for making that content multilingual. And so absolutely, that's what we have. Okay. We have a very robust API set in web services.
So you yourselves also have your own set of web service APIs that people could look at and think about building into their own AWS-powered application.
Absolutely. We've initiated a lot of these integrations on the behest of our customers. There was a recent occurrence that was, I think, a great step for Lingotek. We actually had an outside developer build an integration to Atlassian, and that was without any intervention from us. They simply read the documented API and started to build that, presented it to us, and now we're working with them.
That's really the true test of your API.
Absolutely.
They can do that from outside without your help.
Yes, and so that's sort of the evolution of a couple of years of doing these types of integrations.
Neat. So let's go a little bit toward the GovCloud. So
sure.
Tell me a bit maybe how that relationship came about.
So Lingotek has really started with early customers in the federal space, and so the idea of, and some of those are in cleared facilities, and translation is sort of a key part of that. And so the idea of working with premise installs and having the government source hardware and go through that setup process, configuration process was painful. And so our customers are looking to save money. They're looking for easier and quicker deployment. And so GovCloud came about, and we started having conversations with the AWS team back east, and they were pretty interested in sort of having unique applications that run on it so they could sort of jointly promote. And so we talk with customers. They're also interested in that. That gets them out of that premise install, hiring sysadmins to set up and configure and having it sort of be on demand. Of course, the same thing that we're seeing with our commercial customers. But the certifications, the security, the segregation from the commercial environment was key. And so it was, again, a very good fit for Lingotek and a good fit, I think, for GovCloud.
So you really if you have a government customer that wants to use your service, a lot of the kind of traditional obstacles of getting the facilities and getting the servers and the clearances and the right people, those things have been really taken care of for you.
Yeah, and as any type of for-profit entity, we want to sort of bring in sales more quickly, implement more quickly, go faster, and so that was really a huge barrier. Sort of getting people to sort of evaluate Lingotek as an application for their use case was a process just like any other process. But the setup process tended to be 3 times as long. And so trying to mitigate that length, make it easier, facilitate that implementation was really key. And so we're seeing some early success with that.
That's good to hear. Kind of coming back to AWS and scale, do you have any examples of like kind of extreme scaling, like kind of surprises that were sent your way that you said, okay, we can now respond really, really efficiently to this because we're on AWS?
Yes. We have a large global organization that's utilizing Lingotek for very large-scale crowdsourcing, community-based translation. And they recently had done a marketing initiative unbeknownst to Lingotek. And so I think it was Tuesday of this week, we got hammered with lots and lots of signups. Now, if we were in sort of a fixed infrastructure model, it would have been hard for us to sort of accommodate that quickly. But as a consequence of being on AWS, we were able to, spin up new instances and meet that demand very quickly so that our customer and their community had a good experience. And so that's one of the things with, cloud-based delivery that's, if you're in your own model, might be more difficult to source, if not impossible to source new hardware, get set up, and really respond in real time. An expectation is that you immediately meet demand, not sort of tomorrow or the next week.
So you really got just this kind of downstream surprise of their decision to more aggressively promote their product, and suddenly that promotion worked, that put more load on you, and you said, fine, we can deal with that, turn up the dial on AWS and deal with that increased load.
Absolutely. So, our DevOps people are able to sort of scale up quickly, meet that demand, and, some of it's automated, some of it still requires some manual intervention. But we're talking about a response, in minutes as opposed to days or hours.
And you didn't have to go out and make an investment in hardware that you might not need by Thursday afternoon. Absolutely.
Again, it's that elasticity. Again, a great fit for content globalization, which has different spiky type of demands on it, and so it's perfect for us.
Cool. So thinking about machine translation and the ability to like translate documents, is there like a rate, like not a pricing rate, like a speed? How is it, like words per minute or per second, or how quickly do these translations typically go?
Yeah, so machine translation is an interesting area. I think there's a chief scientist at Google that says machine translation is not rocket science, it's harder. And the point is that it's hard to get great accuracy. And so it's great for consumption-oriented content where you want to fix your printer driver and it might not be in your language, so you translate a knowledge base. But what often we're seeing is more of a machine translation in a sort of hybrid model where it gets post-edited by humans. So from a raw machine translation perspective, it's almost instantaneous. But what we're seeing for a human translator that, say, might produce 2,000 to 2,500 words per day in sort of professional translation quality, by leveraging machine translation as a first step in the process and doing post-edit, they're able to 2 or 4x their output, depending on the content.
Excellent. Okay, I think we're just about out of time, but I really appreciate your coming by to tell our audience about this. And please do think about coming back again when you have some additional interesting things to share with us. So I really appreciate your
Thanks,
time.
Jeff. Appreciate
it. Thank you for watching today. Again, this is Jeff Barr. You've been watching the AWS Report. Please tune in again to see even more interesting interviews with AWS customers. Thank you so much.